Hey everybody, this is Miss Blankenship, and this is going to be our introduction to our very first lab. The lab is called the Naked Egg Lab, and the point of it, so the purpose, is to explain the processes of diffusion and osmosis. So I'm going to briefly explain what we'll do throughout the entire experiment. This is a multi-day experiment, so I'm going to go through each part, and then I'll conduct part one. There'll be additional video clips that explain each of the additional parts. Okay, so our materials are a beaker, corn syrup, a spoon, a raw egg, vinegar, wax paper, a balance, and then paper towels as needed. Okay, so each of the lab sections is divided up by a part. Okay, each part has a header, okay, so that you know what's happening, and then it has questions that go through it. Okay, as you move through from day to day, there'll be reflection questions for each part. Okay, and then you'll also record your data into the data table that you can see right now. Okay, so everything will have text boxes in it for you to add your observations and your data as you are going through the experiment. Okay, so as we complete each of the days, then you'll move on to the next one. Okay, so each part of the experiment is going to explain a different chemical being used, and then you're going to look at the effects of that chemical on the egg. Okay, so there's what you'll be doing for part two. Okay, and then it'll move on until part three. Okay, and again, we're studying diffusion and osmosis. Okay, and then part four. And finally, part five. Okay, and part five will be the final observations. Each part will be a different day, and as I mentioned, each section of the lab will be little short films that you'll watch. Remember, you can pause the video at any time if you need to, rewatch a section to be able to answer any of the questions. Okay, so we are going to set up part one of the experiment today. Okay, so I have gathered the following materials: a raw egg, a balance, I've already got my labeling tape, and a beaker. Okay, I'm going to carefully measure the mass of the raw egg using the balance. Instead of a triple beam balance, it's an electronic balance, so we can get a little bit more of an accurate. Okay, so we're now going to begin part one of our experiment. Okay, so we're going to be doing part one first. Okay, so I'm going to pick up the egg. Okay, this is just a raw chicken egg. I'm going to set it here so you can make some initial observations. Okay, so again, it's a raw chicken egg. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find its mass. Okay, so I'm going to move over to my balance. Okay, so I'm going to set my weigh boat down. That's just the dish that I'm going to use to hold the egg still. Okay, I'm going to zero it out so that it doesn't include the mass of the weigh boat. And then I'm going to take the mass of my egg. Okay, so my initial mass of the egg is 57.76. Okay, so that will be recorded in your data table. Again, 57.76. Okay, so you'll record that into your data table. And the balance is wobbling just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and keep that 7.6. This is a measure of mass. Okay, so our unit is the gram. Okay, so now we've got the mass of our starting egg. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add in what it says to do next. So if you'll go back to day one, again, we're completing day one of our experiment. We're going to look at the instructions for day one. Okay, so we have found the initial mass of our raw egg. Okay, and now I'm going to carefully place the egg into a beaker. Okay, so here is my beaker. I'm going to place the egg into the beaker. Move that out of the way so I can move the beaker back. Okay, and then to finish up, step 5, I'm going to pour vinegar in the beaker until it just covers the egg. Okay, so this is just regular vinegar. Okay, so go ahead and make some initial observations. Okay, so we've got an egg that's in vinegar. Okay, it's going to sit in this vinegar for 24 hours. If you go back to your part 1 of the experiment, you're going to make a hypothesis at the bottom of page 1, and then you'll go ahead and do your reflection. Okay, so again, you're doing the day 1, so you'll do your hypothesis, and then at the top, you'll go ahead and do your part 1 reflection, the 2 questions. Make sure that you have recorded your mass, so that starting mass of 57.76 grams is what goes for day 1, and then you'll make your observations. Okay, the next video clip that you'll watch will go along with day 2. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on the egg again so you can see what's happening. Okay, so I'm going to leave it a few seconds on the egg. Again, the egg is in just regular white vinegar. Okay, and this concludes our day 1, part 1 of our experiment.